Terry, I know that ventriloquism is pretty popular right now, but when you were growing up, it wasn't so much. So what drew you to that?
It was different. There was no kids in my school that were ventriloquists. So it made it easier for me to figure out what I was going to do for the talent shows. I mean, literally. So when I found this book...
No competition.
No, there was no competition. So when I found this book on how to be a ventriloquist, I just checked it out, started doing it, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. Now I won't have any competition. There was a ton of magicians and singers, and I would do those two things too. But once I started doing ventriloquism, I was the only ventriloquist. And then I started getting into like finding out Edgar Bergen and Jimmy Nelson and Paul Winchell and Willie Tyler and Lester. And so those guys were a big influence on me as well. Sherry Lewis, you know,
sure.
the legends of my time. But you know, once kind of Jimmy Nelson and Paul Winchell and Sherry Lewis were kind of in the back burner, and they were not in the mainstream. Ventriloquism really kind of took a downturn in popularity, not in quality. There have always been incredibly good ventriloquists. People say, you know, oh, ventriloquism is dead. It's like, no, it's actually never been dead. It's just been in the shadows.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
I mean, I think that, I mean, for me, it seems that when you went on America's Got Talent, it just like said, oh my gosh, wait, this is a great form of entertainment. So what did you feel it, could you feel it happening when you were competing?
I could, but I felt it before. Once I discovered, I always knew I could do impressions and singing and ventriloquism. I just never really put them all three together. Yeah. And once I discovered that about 2 years before America's Got Talent, I started seeing a difference in my crowds, how they responded. I was getting standing ovations where people were leaping to their feet everywhere I went, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm onto something here. So I knew it.
That's my clue.
And it was really interesting because Piers Morgan was he was the Simon Cowell character on my season of America's Got Talent. And he would say, this is so entertaining. I've never seen anyone do impressions of singers and ventriloquism. And he would say, you know, I didn't even like country music when I did a Garth Brooks song, but he said, you made country music entertaining for me when your puppet sang. It was hilarious, and it made me like country music. So yeah, it was really interesting to kind of see that unfold on national television.
First day, America's Got Talent competition, you're walking out on stage. What did you hear?
Oh yeah, I didn't hear Hasselhoff say. Hasselhoff leaned over to Sharon and said, "Oh no, a ventriloquist." And I did not hear him, but their body language, I could definitely see there was a lot of eye rolling and like, oh God. And I got to get a little bit of the behind the scenes story with that. What had happened was they had seen me, the producers had seen me do the auditions, and they knew I was good. So what they did was they kind of front loaded it with a bunch of bad ventriloquists. So that day, they had like 3 terrible ventriloquists on before me. But they wanted that reaction. So I walk on with a puppet and they go, oh, no, not another ventriloquist. You know, they didn't put any of the other ventriloquists on. They just put me on. Yeah. So, but you know, it didn't offend me. It didn't hurt me. I'm like, oh, I got them right where I want them.
Really? Because I would have been
that
like...
would have blown me away.
Yeah, I was like,
oh no.
I'm like, oh, I was sitting there thinking, I was standing up there thinking, they have no idea what they're about to see. And because I knew, you know, like I said, and you're just, I'm just listening. Okay, yeah. Okay, tell me when you want to say something. Yeah, we will. But you know, I had been doing the At Last for about 2 years with my little girl puppet, and I would do this for audiences all over the country. As soon as my puppet would, you know, and you do it, At Last, you can do it too. Yeah. So as soon as Emma would do this, people would just go, oh, I don't believe this. So I knew that I was going to get the exact same response that I did get.
You got mine at home.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
At home, I was like, oh my gosh! Yeah, that was me.
I love it. I could hear you.
Probably. How fast then did your whole life change?
Oh, overnight. You know, it was a 20-year overnight success. I had been traveling, doing fairs, county fairs. I started doing clubs and bars. Then I started doing fairs, and then I started doing schools and fairs. And I was working, you know, I was probably doing 350 shows a year, and maybe more, maybe sometimes. No, actually, shows, days, 350 days a year. And then I was probably working 900 shows a year because I was doing 3 shows a day. So we're talking like so much work. And then all of a sudden, America's Got Talent, kaboom. and I'm become one of the top headliners in Vegas, and have been here ever since. It's really quite a remarkable story, unprecedented from what I understand. No one else has ever done anything like that, you know. So, and it happened so fast I didn't even really have time, because I had to immediately start writing for the Vegas show. So I immediately, and really 10 years here at the Mirage, I've rewritten the show something like 20 times. So I'm always writing. I'm just now writing a whole new Christmas show. So I'm always writing. I'm always creating. So I feel like one of these days I'm going to be able to look back and go, wow, that was some career. But right now I'm so focused on just making it the best I can that I'm not really thinking about it, you know?
You're still in the vortex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you seem like such a down-to-earth guy, so I think this question's kind of silly, but did it change you?
No. I have
It doesn't
a theory
seem
about
like it
that.
has.
I have a theory about that. I feel like that if you're a jerk before, I think that there are closet jerks out there who can't be jerks because they know it would hurt their career. And then when they get famous, I don't think you become a jerk. I think you always are in your heart. Because a really nice person is still going to be a really nice person. Success is not going to change that about them. I don't think. Maybe it does. I don't know. It certainly didn't me. But part of it may have been that I was 42 when it happened. You know, 42 years old. I'd already kind of been through, I'd been through a lot in my life. And so I'd kind of was grounded. I realized that this was just a part of what life, you know, the money and the success and the fame, it was never a big deal to me. It was more my family and my relationships, and that's what I cared about. That's what I really focused on.
I agree with what you said there, that you were a mature person when this happened, so you weren't 18 years old and you were grounded. So I want to just ask you, Jen and I are both Christians, so how did your Christianity play into all of this?
Well, you know, a lot of people ask me that question is, how do you stay grounded? And, you know, my faith in Christ keeps me grounded because I understand as a Christian that I desperately need God's forgiveness just like every other person on the planet. I'm no different than anyone else. Yeah. Whether I'm rich, whether I'm famous, whether I'm, you know, I have a lot of talent, makes absolutely no difference because I have to come to Christ and expect His blood to be the sacrifice for my sin, just like every other person. So how can I possibly get a big head when I'm on my knees? And I have devotions every single morning. I start every morning with prayer and reading the Bible. And when you're on your knees in front of Almighty God, you just can't think you're all that.
It gets you pretty humble.
Yeah, you just have to always realize He's all that, you know, and He's the one who gave me this talent, and He could take it all away. You know, it's in His hands, not mine.
You know, when I was at the ventriloquist convention, you know, your name came up constantly. I mean, you know, everybody was talking about you. But the young kids, I was so impressed with them and their talent. And how important do you think the convention is?
It's incredibly important. I think it's probably the most important thing for ventriloquists. And I dreamed of one day going. I dreamed of one day going to the convention. I used to just, and I just couldn't afford it. And then when I finally started working and I could afford it, I was too busy because I worked. Summer was my busy time. So I couldn't turn down a paycheck to go. And then I win America's Got Talent, and now I can afford it, and I still don't have the time. I still can't do it because I'm just too busy. But I've done it like 3 times, I think. And I've loved it every time, and I just think it's a marvelous place. It's a place for young people and old people alike, regardless of who wants to do it. It can teach you so much. There are so many great, incredibly talented ventriloquists, maybe that no one's ever even heard of, but that are so good, that have honed their craft over 30, 40, 50 years. And it's the most important thing a ventriloquist can do. If a person has the ability and the time, they absolutely need to go to the convention.
You know, one thing that since I didn't get to go, but that Rodney and Roger even mentioned, that how much love there is at the convention and how much support for each other. Whether somebody forgets their lines, their jokes, it's just such a supportive environment there.
It's very supportive, and it's great. And you know, you can get a kid up there that's struggling and the routine's not very good, and everybody's laughing and everybody's cheering and everybody's making them feel validated, and that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing because we need that validation, especially when we're young.
Absolutely. I know that giving back is important to you, so I wanted to ask you about your foundation.
Yes, I have the Terry Fator Foundation. And it really started out working mostly military, if not all military. And then we just started working with so many other people. We started working with first responders. We started working with kids with cancer. got heavily involved with a wonderful little boy who passed away, unfortunately, but we were able to do some beautiful things for he and his family before he left us. And we just kind of expanded it, and now the Terry Fator Foundation is just in existence to make the world a better place and to help people who need help. And we still do have a focus on the military and still on the first responders, and we always honor our military and first responders in every show. Just because these people put their lives on the line for us daily, and you know, we just get to sit back and enjoy the benefits of their hard work and sacrifice, and their putting themselves in harm's way for us. And I want them to know how much we appreciate it, and that's really what I focus on.
You know, when you were talking about 900 shows, I'm going to ask you to try to explain, what is it? What is it that's burning in here that made you never give up, that makes you work so hard?
That's a good question. I think it's just something you're born with. I think you just, I was born with the need to entertain. You know, my dad was always disappointed. He's not with us anymore, but he was always disappointed. He felt like that I did not get my calling because he wanted me to be a minister. And I never felt God's calling to be a minister. And now I understand God was calling me to be a minister, but I'm a minister of joy. And that's what I do. I bring joy to people. I give people an hour and a half, or if they buy my DVD, maybe as much time as they want, or they can watch my YouTube videos. And that alleviates some of their pain and suffering, and it brings joy to them. And I cannot tell you the countless emails and letters I get from people that say, I had cancer, I was going through chemo, and watching your videos got me through it, or I was going through a divorce, and your videos got me through it. So that's what God called me to do. So I am a minister, just not the kind of minister my dad wanted me to be. I'm the kind God wanted me to be. I'm so okay with that.
That's right. And I think it's so true, because I think when people are happy, they have hope.
Yes.
And when people have hope, they can accomplish anything.
And I think also that it makes them more receptive to God's message, because in a place of joy, and you know, even though in pain a lot of times that can be a place, but I think it can also open up our hearts and make us more receptive to God speaking to us. So I feel like there's a lot going on there spiritually, not just physically.
Is it hard not to have a favorite child? Cover your ears.
Not at all. I'm his favorite.
You think? Yeah. You think it?
Yeah.
He's right. He's right. He is my favorite. But I do have. I always answer the question of that. Truly, they don't have feelings, so it doesn't really matter.
Hey, what? Now, hang on.
Okay, we'll talk later. So, but I have three favorites, and Winston's my overall favorite because there's no doubt a turtle singing Roy Orbison. That captured America's hearts.
Yeah.
It just absolutely did. And then Walter T. Airedale, my cowboy puppet, who sang Friends in Low Places on America's Got Talent, he's my sentimental favorite because he was my 18th birthday gift. So I was 18, and I got my first professional, truly professional, not semi, or, you know, he was really a professional puppet, and he had all the bells and whistles. He had the moving eyes and the eyebrows, and I'm still using him in my act here in Vegas. Many, 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 many years later, what, 41 years later, he's still in my act. Or more than 41. I don't know. I can't do math at all. But it's 40-something years later, and he's still in my act. But and then my favorite to perform is Maynard Tompkins, the Elvis Impersonator. And you'll see when you see the show tonight, you'll see why. I let him go. I let my imagination go. My subconscious, I just say whatever he wants to say tonight and do tonight, he does. And it's so much fun. It's very liberating. So he's my favorite to perform.
Do you ad lib some?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And you'll see tonight why he's my favorite, because he's hysterically funny. He makes me laugh. And I always know when I'm doing it right, when the band is laughing and these people of my backstage crew, I can hear them laughing off stage, and it's like, okay, so Maynard's being funny tonight.
I have to say, I'm really loving the sparkles.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I taught Elvis how to dress.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Just be quiet and let me do my thing.
Okay, fine. You can hear him clacking, so.
Yeah. Don't put your finger in my mouth. I don't know where that finger's been.
Okay.
And his hip movement, did you give him that too?
No, I'm a puppet. I can't move my hip. He came up with that all by himself.
Right. So, well, with this,
Don't touch me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't like to be touched. I'm just like Howie Mandel.
Okay. So with this guy, I wanted an Elvis character because I wanted somebody who could sing like Elvis. And so this was maybe 30 years ago that I got this character. So I get him, and I put him in my act, and he's singing Elvis, and I can't come up with anything funny for him to do. I'm just like, it's not funny. What am I going to... So I worked and worked and worked, and I went through 3 or 4 different characters, and then finally one day, I'm driving the bus. It was 6 in the morning. I'd been driving since, I used to have a tour bus. I'd been driving since midnight, and I'm sitting there and I'm driving, and I went, oh my God, what if he's an Elvis impersonator who's never actually decided to learn an Elvis song? And I started laughing. I thought, that's a funny idea. An Elvis,
That's right, and I still don't know no Elvis songs, and I have no desire to learn one.
right. Actually, you do.
Do I? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right, I did learn an Elvis song.
He's going to do it tonight.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I haven't heard it.
No, he hasn't heard it, but I did call you.
Yes, you did. You told me.
Yeah, I told him I did finally learn an Elvis song, and I'll do it tonight.
Right. So tonight you're going to hear an Elvis song. Yeah.
And you've never heard it either?
I haven't. What song is it?
You're going to have to wait.
Okay.
Wow.
I can't wait.
Neither can I.
Surprises on stage. A little nerve-wracking.
I know.
A little nerve-wracking.
I know.
You know? Yeah.
But you're going to do okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do great. You're going to be blown away.
I think so too.
I like the confidence.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, I'm nothing if I'm not confident. So I'm really nothing.
I don't know what that means.
I feel your pain. I do. I do.
Terry, what would you say to some young person coming up that wants to be in ventriloquism? What encouragement would you give them?
My really the only advice that I give people is don't focus on the goal of you want to be rich and famous. Because if you focus on that goal and it never happens, you're going to feel like a failure. Focus on being the best you are capable of being. And you can always attain that goal. And don't say, I want to be the best in the world, because you don't know where your talent level is. Just say, I want to be the best I can be. And I want to be better every time I do it. I want to improve, and I want to be better than I was yesterday. And what people don't understand is, especially when you're young, you know, if you're 10 years old and you're starting. I remember watching ventriloquists when I was a kid, and they'd say, you know, they'd have puppets and they would talk about, oh, I've been married 20 years. I'm thinking, wow, 20 years, you know. I mean, here I am now, 54, you know. I know what it's like, you know, to have a life behind you. And if you work every single day on your craft, 30 minutes, just say 30 minutes a day, in 20 years, you're going to be amazed at how good you are. You will be way better. If you don't work on it, you're never going to get any better. So I'm not saying, you know, to focus on 6 hours a day. I'm just telling people, hey, just take a little bit of time every day to work on your craft. And whether that goes with anything, whether you're a writer, whether you want to play guitar, whether you want to sing, if you work on that a little bit a day, it really adds up. And time goes fast. The older you get, the faster it goes. So, you know, so I just say don't make a goal that if you don't get it. And what happened for me was when I turned 40.
You're 40? I am. What am I doing with this old guy?
I don't know. Anyway, so when I turned 40, I thought to myself, you know what? I think the big dream of being rich and famous is over, because who's ever really going to care about a 40-year-old ventriloquist? But that's fine. I'm going to get on that stage. And I was performing for a lot of elementary schools. And I said, you know, if they're in the first grade, in 50 years, I want them to tell their grandkids, I saw the best ventriloquist I ever saw when I was in the first grade. And I'm telling you, I'll never forget that. So I said, I'm doing it for me. I want to be the best for me, and I want to be the best for those kids that are watching me do this bit and this routine. And it changed everything, because suddenly I was having fun. I wasn't disappointed because it wasn't happening for me. And then guess what? 2 years later, kaboom, everything happened. But I was ready for it because I had made that commitment to be the best. I committed for myself, not for any other reason other than to be the best, so that I myself could look at my act and my craft and say, I'm as good as I can be today. And then I'll be better tomorrow.
And you can be happy with yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're very pleased with your milestones when you finally do reach those milestones, you know. And you never know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. And you just got to be prepared for it. You know, if God puts the door in front of you and you're not ready to walk through it, that's not on him, that's on you. Yeah. So
that's true. Is there a song or a singer that you haven't done that you want to do?
Not really, no. I mean,
really?
if I want to do it, I put it in.
You just do it.
You know, somebody will mention something. I'll be, oh, that's a good idea, and I'll get it in the show. And tonight, oh my gosh, you're going to see 25 different characters on stage in 90 minutes. It goes really, really fast. I'd probably do 50-something impressions of singers, you know, and so you got a lot of good stuff to look forward to.
Are you afraid your head's going to explode?
No, I get tired sometimes, and when I do, that's when the voices get all mixed up. But that happens very occasionally, and we make it a part of the show. It's fun.
Sure. Yeah.
How many days a week do you perform here?
I do between 4 and 6. I do Monday through Thursdays, and then occasionally they'll have me do Fridays, and sometimes Fridays and Saturdays, or Saturdays. Like this week, I have a Saturday show, so I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Saturday. And then when they don't have me on the weekends, I love it because they have other acts. Like they'll have Ray Romano will be here, and Jay Leno, and some of the top comedians, and Boyz II Men's here, and also Shin Lim, who won America's Got Talent last year, is in my theater. When they're not, when I'm not performing, they perform, and then I get to travel. So this past weekend I was in Indiana and Kentucky. And soon I'm going, I travel everywhere. I go to Florida, I go to Washington, I go to DC, I go to New York, I was just in Jersey a couple months ago. It's like I get to travel. Canada, I get to go all over the place on the weekends when I'm not here.
Cool.
Do your fans yell requests?
They don't know.
No?
Because they know that I'm going to always do the best I can do.
They're not talking to you. Oh, yeah, they don't.
They don't yell
Actually, it's
requests
amazing.
because,
Occasionally, I do get a request, and as you'll see tonight, I do a question and answer period at the end of the show. And if somebody yells out a request and I can do the voice, I'll just do a little bit of it for them.
Oh.
Cool.
But it's really hard with a show like mine. It moves so fast that there's really no way that I can just stop the show because I've got everything crafted.
Yeah.
Except with him.
Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Unpredictable.
We never know what I'm going to do.
Right.
Yeah.